You're listening to the Life with Old Dogs podcast, and I'm your host, Dawn Mimnaugh, primary caretaker of all of our wonderful senior German Shepherds right here at Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. All right. This is Dawn from the Life with Old Dogs podcast, and I'm here today with Tauni Beckman from Shade Out DM. Hi, Tauni. How are you?
Hey, Dawn. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I follow you, your organization on Instagram, and I've seen your little Casey there, and I just fell in love. I really did. I actually love corgis, and I've often said to my husband, when I get too old and I can't help German Shepherds anymore, I'm turning to corgis.
Well, I actually grew up with German Shepherds, and but yeah, corgis are little mini German Shepherds almost.
Yeah, they're very smart, right? They're smart
They're
dogs.
just as loud.
Oh goodness, that's too funny. I heard that they are very intelligent and that they're great swimmers. Is that true?
It depends on the dog, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some of them don't like water at all, but I was fortunate enough that all of my corgis have always loved water, so
Oh,
that's a
good.
blessing. Yes.
Good. Okay, so you're the founder of Shade Out DM.
Yes, that's
Can
correct.
you tell us about that?
So Shade Out DM came about. My Casey, like you said, Casey the Corgi, was I have had corgis for over 25 years, and they're just my babies. They're not. I don't show. I don't do anything like that. They're just my babies, and so I had never heard of DM. And so when I started, I'm also a horse trainer. So I watch horses move. I see how their gait is. And so I probably picked up on Casey a little earlier than most. And I basically teaching lessons. My students were always so kind about asking, how's Casey doing? And I said, you guys are so nice, but it's taking up half of your lesson when we're talking about Casey. So long story short, one of the kids helped me set up a Facebook page, as I'm not very technical. And they, next thing you know, 5,000 people were watching Casey's journey. And it wasn't something that I could have ever imagined or guessed. I mean, I really had no idea the power of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I had people reaching out, oh my gosh, I think my dog has this too, or, oh, I had a dog with this or whatever. And in the beginning, I had gone to 5 vets and 3 chiropractors, trying to say something's going on. I'm not really sure what it is. And, then when I found out about DM and started doing research on it, like everyone does, it ended up being like the first few vets had said, oh no, I know what you're talking about, but that's not what this is. And it took me a while, but finally we got to a vet that was familiar with it and did the genetic testing, which doesn't confirm it, but it does confirm the genetic, what genes your dog has.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was at risk. And basically in the Corgi community, it is a problem, a big problem. And a lot of it is because a lot of the corgis have been bred over and over, and just the genetic lines contribute to it, and so it is very much talked about in the corgi community. And so when we did, basically, I started out by telling people, oh man, so sorry that that's what your dog has. I'm so thankful that this isn't what Casey has. And turned out it was. So
Oh gosh.
when she passed away, it's called Shade Out DM because as in shades. So I brought some little shades. So this is what we do. We shade out DM.
That's so
but it's because when Casey was, we did a lot of hydrotherapy. She swam 2 to 3 times a week. And that just kept her little heart and lungs strong. I mean, her front end lasted longer. Yes, there's no proof in that, but bottom line, as a horse trainer, conditioning is very important. And I see it over and over now that I've been doing this for a while. Dogs that are active and out there getting out, doing things, seem to um, fight this disease a little bit stronger, a little longer,
I agree. Yep.
and
Mhm.
and so anyway, so Casey loved to swim, and so thankfully we have a local pool close by that we were able to rent by the hour and go every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for her swim time. And the coolest thing was when she was in the pool, she wasn't handicapped,
Yep.
so she could swim around and tootle around, and she just loved her swim time. So we, just to entertain ourselves, we would do our little laps back and forth, and then just to let her float and just be a dog again. Um, One day I popped on my sunglasses on her, took a picture and put it on her page, and everybody loved it. Next thing you know, people were sending me sunglasses from all over the world.
Oh, nice. That is
So
so
every
interesting.
day, like, and she loved it because she got, like, people would walk by the pool and, oh my gosh, how cute. And she just ate that up.
Right.
So, it wasn't anything that I did. I didn't think it up myself. It was just a fun thing. And so when she crossed the bridge, somebody, a very close friend who was taking the DM journey for her third time,
Mhm.
well, it was her second time at the time. But she helped me because she'd been through it before. And so she helped me a lot, and with Casey during her journey. And so when she crossed the bridge, she said, Casey always wore those sunglasses. You really need to keep doing this, and you need to call it Shade Out DM. So I totally credit her for, give her all the due credit for that, for the name. And it's not, it just kind of came about, and we have kept doing it. There's a lot of people that um, have approached us and asked us to be quiet, and that's
Really?
because they don't want us talking about this problem. And I just kind of feel like, honestly, the more we can educate the public and get to those people that just, they're average like me, and that they have a dog, and then the neighbor's dog is there, and they seem to fancy each other, and we'll just let them breed, and
Right.
and that's how this continues. And if we can get to the end of, the owners, that innocently don't know,
That's
yes.
not always true.
Well,
There's
well,
breeders, who know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but,
no, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And I'm just a
there's
little,
breeders who know.
yeah, no, I'm a little cautious. I'm very aware, but I'm a little cautious about that because, majority of the people, a lot of the breeders in the Corgi community are making a big effort to
Mhm.
wean it out of their lines, and I commend them for that. There
Yeah,
are
that's
those
that's what
that
we
don't.
want. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No,
and
I guess I'm so adamant about it because, my personal German Shepherd, Levi, she's been deceased now since 2017, her breeder knew. I didn't know it at the time. My husband actually bought her for me. It's the only dog we ever bought, and he
mhm,
bought her for me for a Valentine's Day gift. And I was thinking, like, I was just very skeptical, and I was like, "Why is she so cheap?" I didn't mean to sound that way, but, just the fee that the breeder was, and then I found out later on down the road, "Oh, this is why," and she knew, and
mhm, mhm,
yeah, so and of course, just like you, I went through that journey with Levi, Woody, a whole bunch of other German shepherds, but the pain, just the pain and the emotional roller
mhm.
coaster that you're on, it's like, just stop already. Just stop already. It's not worth it. It's not worth to
Yeah,
breed dogs
yeah.
that carry the gene.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So that could be a whole nother segment, in my
Yeah.
opinion, on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I get
um,
I get it. Some don't know. Like you said, they're just backyard
yeah.
breeding.
So when I was told that we needed to be quiet and not talk about it, who would have been the one to tell me that, right? And so at that point I said, really, watch this. So we started going to a lot of giant corgi events, And again, this disease is not breed specific. It
No.
doesn't discriminate. So it involves like over 100 breeds. It involves a lot of dogs. I only have, Shade Out DM only has a large Corgi following because I had a Corgi in it. I do absolutely, we want to make sure that it is open to all dogs and owners that are affected. We absolutely want everyone to post their dogs in there and let the world know that this is other breeds too. Just right now, I've had people say, "Oh, that's only a Corgi group." That's not true. We're all breeds. And if you look at my hat, we just released the
I
German
see that.
Shepherd pin. That's
I
Cherry
see that.
Cola,
That's
and
so
we have
cute.
Wesson and Maggie.
And what is that, a Bernese Mountain
Bernese
Dog, I
Mountain
think?
Dog. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Maggie. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's
That's so
cutting out.
cute.
Um, but that is our attempt to get people's attention to ask questions, so we get to talk about it and we get to
Mhm.
share it with people. And really, Shade Out DM, our mission is to raise awareness, solely, mainly to raise awareness. We do want to work towards well, I guess I'm pausing in my thoughts because honestly, we've done a lot of things over the years. We started this. Casey passed away in 2017, and so that's when Shade Out DM originated, to be honest. And so, since then, we started going to the big Corgi events. We have a big one out here, the Corgi Beach Day, where
You're in
2,000,
California?
yeah,
Okay.
2,000 corgis come. It's a big deal.
Oh,
But
that would be fun.
it's adorable. It's so much fun. And and we've gone to Texas and like a lot of places where we've held big events. But in doing this, and offering people a place to talk about their journey, in the middle of the night, you're up with your dog, she won't sleep. People will post on there like, "Hey, she won't sleep. This is so frustrating." And we've had more and more people come to us and say, like, I went to my vet and my vet never even heard of DM. And
Mhm.
so this happened over and over and over. And then on the other note, we were getting a lot of people that were coming to us, hey, we were just diagnosed with DM, but we don't know what to do. And so I would ask, first question is, how old is your dog? And they'd say 2 or 3. And I'm like, that's not DM, and so at this point we started realizing. I also work with Bandits Canine Care. They're and also a nonprofit that helps with a lot of veterinary stuff. And so we work hand in hand. I do the loaner cart program for them. So we loan carts out to all different size dogs also, for free. And so anyway, when I got people coming to me for that, and another lady that very intelligent lady that was working closely with me at the time, we got a lot of people that were, clearly being misdiagnosed. Okay. And so
Mhm.
at that time, we thought, well, we need to get into some of these veterinary conferences and start like educating more people about DM,
Right.
just so that they know to look into it, and really, okay, so DM was became a real thing in 2008. I'm like you, Casey. We was the only dog that we purchased. My husband purchased her for me, and honestly, the breeder, I don't blame her breeder, because her breeder, Casey was born in 2005, and DM really became a thing in 2008. So immediately she started testing before breeding and changing her lines and making the effort. And so I don't blame her. But at the same time, I do blame those that don't want to make that change,
Right.
and won't
Mhm.
admit that it's a problem. And so when we started having more and more people come to us, we said, honestly, we need to, sorry, I forgot to shut my phone off.
I did the
We
same thing, I'm doing it right now.
uh, so when we decided to start going to veterinary conferences. So we did our first veterinary conference, and that's where it was the Western Veterinary Conference in Las Vegas, and there was like 12,000 vet students and vets and neurologists. And I mean, it was amazing. They all came up to us with welcome arms. I didn't really know how it was going to go, but they did. And they were grateful. And oh my gosh, this is amazing. You guys are that support group that can help my people. You know, like I had one neurologist come up to me and say, I have to diagnose this disease like 6 to 8 times a day.
Wow.
And so this is wonderful. Now I have somewhere to point the people to, because it's just I've been having to say, oh my gosh, this is, I have to give you this awful diagnosis. And,
Right.
Unfortunately, we could argue on how he presented it, because it's not a diagnosis completely, but the whole point is, when you see it over and over and over, and you start to see the same signs, same symptoms, same everything, and it
Right.
all fits into the box, and you've ruled out everything else, it's really obvious that pretty much that's probably what
DM.
it is. So
Yeah. We've had this with well, of course, dogs that have come here to the sanctuary,
mm,
and whether it be another rescue group or a shelter, and they have information on the dog, and they will say something neurological, and I'll say, please send me a video. And I
yeah,
watch the dog for a little bit, and I'll say, well, did they have an x-ray of the spine to rule out degenerative disc disease, or herniated disc, or,
yeah,
pinched nerves or something like that? And I'll say, yeah, it's DM. And either it'll be, well, what is that? Or, well, I don't know about that. And I'm thinking, no, I've seen this, I don't know how many times.
hmm
It's it's blatantly obvious if you know what you're looking for. And like you said, you've ruled out everything else. But I mean, nobody likes getting that diagnosis, but I look at it this way. It doesn't have to be an immediate, like, death sentence.
right,
They can
right,
still have quality of life, and
absolutely.
we've had Prince, he's here over a year now, and he's still going just fine. Does he look pretty all the time? No. But is
Mhm.
he still living his best life? Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
right,
So,
right.
that's something
Yeah,
to keep in mind if you get that diagnosis. It doesn't mean
absolutely.
the end is right here, this is it. No, that's
No,
not the
no.
case at all. No,
Yeah,
doesn't
Casey
have to be.
actually rode her wheels for a month shy of 3 years.
That's fantastic. See?
So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have tools that we can use. We're gonna get into that in a little bit
yeah,
here.
yeah.
There's tools, there's therapies, obviously, what we're doing is we're trying to slow the disease as much as possible,
Mhm.
um, to extend their life for as long as possible, as long as they have quality of life. That's
Yeah,
basically what it comes down to. And there's
right.
lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like a human with ALS, you get them the tools they need to be comfortable and
Mhm.
to still be out there. That's another thing that we did at Shade Out DM. We've been getting, well, then COVID hit and changed everything. But
Oh, yeah, I'll say.
but before COVID, we've linked up with the local ALS chapters here, and we actually they asked us to do a booth at their walk. And oh my gosh, that was so heart wrenching. I had people coming up to us. I actually had our vet come, and it was eye opening for him too. But we had ALS patients coming up and reading through, excuse me, our sign of, like, symptoms and things. And he said, yep, I've got that, yep, I've got that, yep, I've got that, yep, I've got
Wow.
that. I mean, all of these things. So that's another thing that's really I want to say exciting, and that the dog research for DM studies are contributing to the human ALS studies.
I think
And
that's phenomenal. I saw that
so,
on your website.
yeah,
I mean, that's great.
yeah, super cool that I mean, to take a very bad situation and be able to do good with it is
Right,
what needs to happen. And I'm so
right.
excited that it is happening. And it is, all these communities are so great in that they're able to support each other and help each other. And, that's the only thing that's going to be able to, like we say, breed out this disease, is
Yeah.
to join hands and educate people. And so that's where I'm going, is we go and basically educate those people that are going to be looking to buy their next puppy, to teach them ask questions, ask if they've been tested, ask
Mhm.
these things, you know. I'm
Mhm.
not saying don't do it, and I'm absolutely a rescue person, and that's my corgi that I have now. She's a rescue, you know. Um, but if you're out there going to go buy your puppy, do some research first, you know, like, and then just, you know, yeah, giving people education. It's funny because some rescue people, we do a race, an awareness race, every year now. This will be our 4th year. And it is, you know, initially the first year it was in person and virtual. And then COVID hit. So we took it 100% virtual, which actually is more effective. But it's basically a race to shade out DM, meaning we take and ask people to go and post pictures and flood the internet with their pictures of their dog with their number, or their friends with their number, you know, competition race numbers, like a marathon, you know.
Uh-huh.
And we actually do have some real runners that participate, but we also have people that just don't get out that much, but they're still able to participate too, because the whole goal is to flood the internet, like I just said, and let people go like, what is going on? What
Yeah.
is this? Why are these
Start
numbers?
asking questions.
Yeah, yeah. And so by doing that race, and I didn't mean to jump to that, except that um the whole point is to raise awareness for DM, get people asking, get people wondering what it is, get them talking about it so we can share the information.
Mhm.
And then it, I lost that train of thought.
Well, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Well,
um,
I
yeah,
I wanted to ask you, now, as you know, we do German Shepherds here, senior German Shepherds,
right.
and we've had degenerative myelopathy. Um, I want to say maybe about 7 or 8 times now in the history of Woody's Place. We became official in 2007. Actually, Woody had degenerative myelopathy.
Oh,
So let me ask you this. What were the first signs you saw with Casey that led you to start investigating into what could possibly be wrong here? What would
yes.
people be looking for?
So originally I saw that one leg was kind of giving out for her, and one hind leg. And now I know to tell people, look for like one back foot with the toenails wearing unevenly, you know, wearing
Yeah.
more than the other hind foot. And it's funny because at the time I do remember looking at her toenails and going, you know, because I would trim her little toenails, and that foot I never needed to trim it. And I remember thinking that was odd, but it
Mhm.
you know, at the time I didn't know. And so yeah, you want to look for just, you know, live life every day, enjoy life every day. You will, if it's something that you may be faced with, it'll be a gradual process. It won't be
Mhm.
sudden. If
Right.
it's sudden, then it's likely not DM. And
Right.
the good news is that could be repairable if you jump on it quick
Well,
enough, you
that's
know?
right. That's right. And you just said somebody talking about degenerative myelopathy and their dog was 2 or 3. We just recently had an email. I want to say like within last 2, possibly 3 weeks, and that's what this person was presenting. My dog is 4 years old and he has degenerative myelopathy. I said, your
Mhm.
dog most likely doesn't have degenerative myelopathy at 4 years old. And he said, well, he's doing this, this, and this, and I've heard you talk about it. I said, well, it could be degenerative disc disease. He could have pinched a nerve. He could have herniated a disc. They will all present the same way. But if it happens suddenly, as opposed to gradually, degenerative myelopathy is gradual.
Right,
It's not sudden. I mean, there are several stages to DM, and one stage could happen quicker than another stage, but DM doesn't happen overnight. We both know that.
right,
But
right.
there
That's
are, like you said, treatable injuries that could present as DM like that.
right,
So it
right.
needs to be investigated.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, like I said, we went to 5 vets and 3 chiropractors just trying to get to the bottom because I noticed it early on. I noticed
Mhm.
something was going on. Um, excuse me. But many of them didn't know about DM, and the couple that did, um, obviously didn't know. I mean, they actually came and told me later, but like, really sorry, I didn't think that's what it was, but I've never worked on a dog with that. And that would have been a little helpful to know at the same
Right.
time, because
Hmm.
not everyone is as persistent as I am. And like, I
Yeah,
don't
you got to
quit.
be
I
their
keep
well,
digging.
me
And
too.
yeah,
You got to be
yeah.
their
And so
advocate.
there's other people that don't ask questions. And so that's the other thing I do a lot of, is encouraging people. Here's the questions you want to be asking your vet. You never want to accuse your vet, oh, you don't know anything about this. That won't
Hmm.
get you anywhere. You want to, take these questions and say, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or please tell me what you think about this. And are you familiar with that? I mean, so you can get further by asking for help more. But bottom line, the whole signs and everything, you may see a little hitch in their get along, like I call it. You may
Hmm.
see them a little off. If it continues in the same hind leg, meaning like they don't switch to the other hind leg,
Right.
things like that. It might be coming, but you just got to keep on living and go enjoy. Don't let that stop you. I see people go, oh no, I think this is what it is, and I'm not going to take them on walks anymore. And I see their dogs really decline more quickly when they, don't get them out. You really need to go ahead and get them out, let them
Well, they
play.
need to be mentally stimulated still. They need
Yeah,
to be mentally stimulated more so once they become immobile, without
right.
the use of a cart or a harness or whatever. They need that mental stimulation. And listen,
Absolutely.
there's ways to get around the walking. Like we have Prince. He's actually shuffling from one bed to the next right now.
Hmm.
When we have degenerative myelopathy dogs, first of all, we're in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. It's rural here, and if you ever need grass and trees, I'll give you some. We got a lot. So never, he never sees blacktop or concrete because he's always walking the sanctuary grounds here. So if you have a dog with DM, keep them off of blacktop and concrete if you can. Let them walk in a field on the
Right.
grass.
Yeah.
Um, this way, if they do occasionally start to knuckle under, where their back paw turns under, that could get scraped and raw and
Yeah.
bloody and
Right.
infected if you don't have that covered and they're on a concrete or blacktop surface. He's here. He walks all over the place, and I'll show you this picture. I know other people can't see, but you see how his knuckle? See that right there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So,
Hmm.
there's still hair there. It's just a little scuffed off, and that's from over a year. And that's just because
Wow.
he walks on the grass.
Right.
So it
Right.
doesn't, it's nice and soft and it really doesn't hurt. So there are ways to, but they need to be moving as much as possible. Keep them moving as much as possible for as long as possible.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what's going to help, extend their lives and keep them comfortable. Like you
That's
said
right.
about your Casey swimming.
Yes, yes. Well, and I mean, some of us that live in the city, like Casey, we went to the park every day.
Hmm.
And so her wheelchair rolled a lot easier on the
Yeah.
cement, and she knew that herself. So I would try to get her to go on the grass, and then she would go back onto the path and go. So I just put little boots, little socks on her feet, and
Hmm.
tape them on with the little athletic tape. Like Corgi's feet, it's really hard to keep little boots on. And I can imagine with with all dogs, they're not really designed for shoes, but and she would wear through those. I built her first couple of wheelchairs because uh, again, didn't have all the information, right? And
Hmm.
so well, first of all, that's why we do the loaner cart program also. Is originally my husband said, I'm not spending $700 on a dog wheelchair, and so I said, well, fine, I'll make her one then. And then and it worked out actually perfectly. At the time also, the one vet was saying, it wasn't probably DM, and oh, you don't want to put her in a wheelchair because as soon as you do, they never come out of them. That's not true either. I've seen a lot of dogs that didn't have DM that had other injuries, and and they did come out of them. But yeah, with
Mhm.
DM, likely you won't be coming out of them, but they need the support. I mean, honestly. So I would cover up her little feet with little socks, or there's so many varieties out there now of boots and socks and everything. But
Yeah, it
truth
has gotten better.
Yes, there is a lot more now. But yeah, the truth be told, whatever you put on their feet, they will wear through them. So I took like duct tape and put several layers of duct tape and put that on the outside of the boot so that it wore through the duct tape first, and I could keep replacing the duct tape and not
Yeah.
the socks every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important that they don't leave the boots on, so that because some of them are not breathable. So you put it
Right.
on while you use it and then take it off when you're done riding your wheels.
Right.
But overall, yeah, you're absolutely right. You just like with humans, you give them the tools, the equipment they need to be safe, to protect them as best as possible. Although Casey would sit there, and as soon as she got out of her cart, if I didn't move fast enough and take her socks off, she removed them herself for me.
Oh,
So
gee. Well, she was trying to help you out, Mom. That's all.
yeah, I'm just
She was
gonna take
such a
this
good
off
girl.
here.
Yeah, she was trying to
Yeah,
help you. I
yeah.
I got that way with Jared. Jared's actually in the picture of our degenerative myelopathy blog post from about a year ago now.
Oh,
And God, he was so bad. He was so bad. He loved his wheel cart. He had a walking wheels wheel cart, and he was so good. And he would go all over the place. And sometimes he would end like on his side, like on his back, like a turtle, because he would go
yeah,
so fast he would flip himself. But
yeah,
he hated any boot or shoe that I put on him.
yeah.
Here he is. Here, I don't know if you can see
Oh,
that.
yes. Oh,
So
yeah.
so I just bought tube socks. I
Oh,
just bought again, we're on the grass here, rural area. So I just bought him tube socks, and I would pull the tube socks as far as I could up his back leg, and then again I'd use the vet wrap around the top of it. So if he tore it, it didn't matter. I would just,
right.
I had more tube socks. If he got them filthy, I would just throw them in the wash. It didn't
Yep.
matter. But he didn't seem to mind the tube socks the way he would other boots with like the Velcro strap or
Right.
whatever, or
Right.
they really didn't come up high enough and they would just fall right off his feet. Oh,
Oh, uh-huh,
yeah,
uh-huh.
he was a very active boy with DM. It was almost like he didn't know.
They
It
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
no.
almost like he just didn't realize, and he was just gonna keep going whether he had to drag his back end all over the place, or well, I didn't let him do that, but I'm just saying, like, he was gonna go, and that
Oh,
was
yeah. Casey
it.
was the same way. It was nearly impossible to slow her down. Like one day we have a dog door, and there was a neighbor's cat that decided to jump the fence and come into our yard, and she was completely down in the hind end, and she drug herself so fast out that dog door and across the cement pavement
Oh.
patio. And I was like, wait. So after that, I put like a little t-shirt on her, and I didn't even think she could get out the dog door anymore. But
Yeah,
with
she
enough
showed you.
adrenaline, they can do
Yeah.
anything, I suppose.
Yeah. Walking Wheels or Handicap Pet, it's the
Yeah.
same company. They have a product called a drag bag.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now.
we actually have a video of it on YouTube. We had Gabriel who was in a drag bag for a little while, and that could be useful, like and again, it's a product that you use occasionally. You don't keep them in the drag bag, but basically it's
That's
for
right.
dogs, just like you were just saying, where they are completely immobile in the back end, but you're not going to have them in their wheel cart 24/7 either. So when they're in the house and they're just maybe on their bed, but they can still drag themselves over to their water bowl. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes when I say that and say, well, why don't you just put them down when they get to that point? That's a whole other story right there.
No.
You can still use a product called a drag bag that protects their body,
Undercarriage. Yeah.
yeah, from getting scraped up, or because obviously if they're getting scraped up, they don't know they're getting scraped up on the lower end. So it protects them. And yeah, finally they have it now. You're right.
It's funny because if I could add to that, yeah, there's a myth. A lot of people had said, oh, well, if it's DM, they don't feel anything. And that's actually a myth, and that a lot of dogs actually do still have feeling. They just cannot control their muscles. So like Casey, when she would get little owies, they would hurt her and sting her, and so we still had to doctor all of those and everything. But um, you just reminded me that actually, um, yeah, it's easier if you can protect them like that with a drag bag or something, so they
Mhm.
don't get those little owies that sting. Life is a lot easier now. There are so many different things that are available. That Walking Wheels Handicap Pets also has a little scooter too. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. Oh my goodness. They have everything. They have them for I've seen them for ducks, I've seen them for
Yeah,
turtles. They have like
yeah,
they have mobility devices for everything.
yeah,
It's fascinating. And
yeah,
people are buying them. I mean, there's
yeah.
truly a need for them. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Eddie's Wheels has quite a few too. And that's just the thing. There's so many different brands of wheelchairs, so many different brands of everything. I only speak on the ones that I have familiar using, that I used myself with my dog.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, there are just so many great companies. I just love that they're all trying to do the best for the animals. They're
Right.
trying really hard to provide everything. And honestly, if one brand doesn't work for one dog, I don't say quit using the cart. I say try this other one.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
because
We have different carts here.
ultimately
Yeah.
for me, it's not working because something's not right. So get something else. We have a corgi that recently crossed the bridge that um he for a while he had three carts. And
Mhm.
it was just because one worked great for this and one worked great for that. Their terrain wasn't, they're more in the country and that kind of thing. And so she had different carts for different things, and it was super because he still got to get out. And even when he was on his final days, her husband, I think you probably might have seen it on our page, but he made Link a dune buggy, a little
Aw.
remote control buggy for him to ride in for his last trip to the pretzel shop, because they always would take him to the pretzel shop. And it was just so precious. And he loved getting to go out there, even though he couldn't use his front end anymore. So,
Yeah. Well, and again, we touched base on this already, and you have it here as one of your myths about keep active versus crate rest. Now,
mhm.
granted, they need to rest. There's no doubt about it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, the onset for degenerative myelopathy for most dogs is between 8 and 14 years old. A lot of them are males as opposed to females. Not to say that females can't get it too. But yeah, so crate rest, sure, they need to rest and you need to let them rest, but you need to get them up moving too, whether it be like a no impact workout, like swimming in a pool, hydrotherapy or something like that, massage, laser therapy, light therapy, um,
Acupuncture. Mhm.
acupuncture. Yeah, they need to have these things more so if they have degenerative myelopathy than if they're a healthy older dog. Now, I'm not saying that they don't need it if they're a healthy older dog, but they need it more so. And we also talked about it before. They need to be mentally stimulated, whether you have, we like licky mats. They
Oh,
love licky
yeah.
mats or some sort of
Mhm.
food puzzle or, you know,
Yep.
even when they're pretty much down, and the end is in sight, we still play games with them on their
Oh,
pillow.
absolutely.
Even if
Yeah.
it's tossing them a ball, they can't
Mhm.
obviously run after it, but they can like lift their front end and catch it. They need that kind of interaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They love all of that. They're so busy. I mean, dogs are so loyal, and they've always, like, for me, we all kind of joke that you can't even go to the bathroom without your dog coming with you,
Oh,
right?
yeah, or
And
cry.
I
Yeah.
I found that when Casey was down completely, that was kind of the hardest thing, is she was like, "Mom, mom, 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 I can't come with you."
Mhm.
And so, yes, I put her in a wagon and took her to the bathroom with me half the time, because she just wanted to be close all the time. I never left her side. So and that was a blessing and a curse too.
Yeah.
Hard for me when she was actually gone. I went through a lot of
Oh,
anxiety
yeah.
kind of
Oh,
things
I'm
because,
sure. But they're used to that routine, whether it be
yeah.
her going to the bathroom with you every single time. Here we do a lot of short, frequent walks throughout the
Yes.
day here at the
Mhm.
sanctuary because they're seniors. So we probably go around the sanctuary grounds, and it's about 3 acres. We're probably out there 5, 6, maybe 7, 8 times a day, and we're out about 15, 20 minutes each time. Now,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's longer if we're on a little safari too, along with the walk. But like Jared, for instance, we had another dog. His brother Jensen passed with DM after Jared, but Jensen, if he didn't come out for a walk with us, he didn't care. He was fine just laying in here on his big Barker dog bed, and when we came
Yeah.
back, he was happy to see us. Jared wanted to go every single time. And when they get to a certain point, as you know, like it can be a bit much for them, even in the wheel cart, especially on grass, which is
Mm.
what we have.
Right.
So my son bought me a lawn cart.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just low to the ground. It's very wide. It has big fat tires. It's like a kind of like a, I don't know, an elaborate wagon, but not really.
An off-road wagon, right?
Yeah, and I would put a blanket in there and I would put Jared in there and I would tote his 100-pound body around the sanctuary grounds with us, not every single time, but as much as I could because we're also
Right.
it's mountainous here, so there's hills and stuff and talk about a workout. But
Yeah.
I did whatever I could to make sure he could come with us because he looked forward to it. It
Yeah.
it was like the highlight of his day, and I wanted him to be able to still feel like he was a part of the group.
That's so special. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's funny you say that because I also went through, for me, it was easier to take the wagon. And then once Casey was not able to really sit up and support herself in the wagon, we switched to the stroller. And it was like a whole new thing because she was out in front. And then I realized, well, dogs like to be out in front. They like to
Yep.
take us on walks,
Yep.
All the rest of the time she was tolerating me pulling her and she was behind and so that I might have thought a little bit too hard into it than I needed to. But,
Well,
um,
she was out with you, and I think in the end that's all that matters. Um,
yes, yes,
so so let's just talk about the stages of DM because there are a few stages of DM. Um, I'm sure it's probably the same for corgis that it is for German shepherds, but in the beginning, you notice like a loss of balance and coordination.
yes.
I don't know for corgis, it's probably the same. Maybe their back legs might start to cross over or
They
like
do
they're
crossover.
tripping up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you start to notice that. And also, if they're standing, their back end might like slowly start to dip for no reason, like they just can't really support it.
Yeah. It's tricky with corgis. They are shorter, and that is something I
But they
wanted
have that
to.
fuzzy peach butt too.
I know. I did want to commend all of you with the bigger dogs. We have several people on Shade.dm that yeah, do help people with the larger dog. I'll ask them to jump in and help with these other people because my heart goes out to you guys. I mean, for me, Casey was well, she also had a tumor in her belly, but she was 40 pounds and I could still pick her up and take her places. And I know I just can't imagine how difficult it's got to be for you guys with the larger dogs and
It's a lot on the
lifting them
back.
and
Yeah.
hauling them and
Cleaning them.
yeah, yeah. Two people, Chrissy with Wesson. He is a 130-pound Chesapeake Bay Retriever. She took
Oh
the
my
journey
gosh.
with him, and then also Maggie, Hillary with the Bernese Mountain Dog. Like that. You guys, my heart goes out to you. But the innovative, like creativity that these people have is like unbelievable and very, very impressive to me. Like Chrissy would get, and I ask her to help people all the time because she actually got like a hiking belt that she would put on and clip and be able to hold Wesson up while she changed him and
Wow.
and cleaned him up and everything. Like
Hmm.
because we have accidents and things like that.
Right, right.
And that's something too. Like a lot of people say, oh, they're incontinent, and I always tell them, try to get them checked by their vet if you think they're incontinent before you just deem it as incontinent, because a lot of times it's a UTI, and they
Hmm.
can prescribe the antibiotics. And we went through that with Casey. She had a ton of UTIs, but the only time she was incontinent was when she had a UTI. The rest of the time she wasn't incontinent. I mean, like it was reversible when we could fix it. it was
Right.
difficult to find the right antibiotic for the right bacteria and things like
Mhm.
that. I mean, we did that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was nice to know that she, well, some are incontinent though, I
Well,
mean,
some are. I mean,
they need to be checked.
yeah,
Hmm.
as they start to progress in the stages, obviously after loss of balance and coordination, then it progresses into muscle weakness and their back end starts to atrophy.
Right.
That's what, I don't know about you, but that's what we try to prolong the most. And you touched base on a wheel cart, and once they go in, they don't come out. So we absolutely try to keep them out of a wheel cart for as long as possible, because that's just in our experience. That's when we've really seen the atrophy set in. Once they go in that wheelchair cart, they really don't come out for DM. But prior to putting them in there, we love Blue Dog help them up harnesses.
Yes.
Oh,
Hmm.
they're worth their weight in gold, and I mean, it's just like lifting up a suitcase. Oh,
Yep.
sorry, lifting up a
Yep.
suitcase with the back end handle and the back handle. And most of the time, they can get their own front end up. They just need assistance with the back
Right.
end in
Right.
that stage. In
Right.
like stage number 2, they can still do it themselves. So that harness, and we have like, I think we have about 5 or 6. And honest to gosh, I feel like we can't have enough of those. um,
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there too. And gingerly, there's just a lot of them that are
Yeah,
great.
they've come a
And
long
I
way.
think, all of this, like what you said about, trying to keep them mobile on their own, independent more as long as possible. That's absolutely true. But it also depends on the dog's personality,
Mhm.
and also like people being realistic of what their capabilities are, like,
Absolutely.
so some
Right.
people, I had one lady that had just had back surgery herself. And so in her situation, going into a cart a little earlier was her better option, as opposed to her other choice was put the dog down or give it
Right.
away.
Right.
And
That's
so
understandable.
I mean, I just want to emphasize, like, it's a really good idea we can give all this advice and suggestions, but that's all they are, is suggestions.
Right.
And everybody needs to evaluate their own situation independently with their vet, with their professional,
Mhm.
and really figure out what is the best thing for them. Where we like to see these dogs be out and active, and yes, we can lift them with the harness, we can help them all along, and some dogs just don't like that, and some
That's
dogs
right.
love it.
Yeah.
Casey, I couldn't keep her in the harness long enough. She slipped right out of it faster than I could. And so like she would just scoot right on through. And so for me, the towel is what I did as much as I could,
Yes.
and that's not the greatest way.
We've done that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's what I did for Woody in the beginning because, well, I mean, this was back in 2009, 2010. I didn't know. I didn't even know what degenerative myelopathy was back then, let alone a harness to help a dog. So I did
Right.
probably what most other people did back then. I just went and got a big old beach towel and like put it under his belly and would
Hmm.
like, hoist up his back end. And like you were saying about each dog is different. Jared and Jensen, again, I keep going back to them because they're the ones that have passed most recently from DM. They were brothers. Um,
Oh,
Jared loved his wheel cart, was all over the place. Jensen didn't last as long. I ended up having to part ways with Jensen sooner because Jensen was he hated it. And anytime I would try to like manipulate him, he would actually try to bite me. Like
right,
he was
right.
not having it. He was I loved him dearly, but he was a cranky old man and he was not having any parts of that wheel cart, and he became very stressed and anxious and actually became violent. Like
Yeah.
he didn't like it. So unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to him sooner because we didn't have another option. And he was
Right.
huge. He was huge and he was incontinent and he was just, really having a very tough go of things. So if the dog is willing to cooperate, obviously you can help them out a little bit longer. But like you said, not every dog's that way.
Right, right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I know after doing this for a while, it just makes me realize how lucky I was with Casey, and that
Mhm.
she was a very bossy corgi. She was very quick to dictate, like, Mom, I need this, I need that, and if you don't do it right now, I'm going to keep yelling at you until you get it. And I couldn't finish one thought for a while there, but I don't regret it for a second. And yes, I'd do it all over again. This corgi that I have now, I know. I just hope she won't develop the disease,
Mhm.
but she may. She's still too young to know, of course, and thankfully, hopefully, I'll never see it.
I hope so
But
too.
if in fact she does have to, our life will be very different because she doesn't like to ride anything. She actually gets colitis when I've tried to put her in a wagon or put her in
Oh,
yeah, and
no.
so she's had a lot of trauma in her life
Mhm.
before I got her, but I need to be able to respect that for her too,
Right.
and so I don't know. I just hope we never have to face it. But if we do, I know that I'll probably get a lot of people saying, "Well, why don't you just this?" And you're right. I would love to, but I have to respect that she may not appreciate it either. You
That's
know?
right. That's right. And I do think that's important to highlight. You
Mhm.
can't force your dog into letting you help them. If they are just non-compliant, then right, we have to respect that. And it's just such an emotional time.
It is
I mean,
emotional.
we've talked about the dogs, we've talked about some of the symptoms, we've talked about some of the tools that we can use to help them, even about getting a diagnosis. But we haven't talked about being the caregiver. It is very stressful, and caregiver burnout is very, very real with a dog who has degenerative myelopathy. And it's
Yes.
really not something that, you should do on your own if you don't have to. You don't try to be a hero. If someone offers help, take them up on it. Even
Go
if it's
ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Don't you
Hmm.
think? I mean, it's
hmm
24/7 at once you get to a certain point.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big part about Shade Out DM is I encourage people, go ahead and post your feelings on there, because a lot of people handle things differently, and a lot of people don't. You feel so alone, even if you have, like, my husband, but he was like, okay, that journey's over, let's move on, kind of thing, and I couldn't.
Mhm.
It took me a really long time. I actually, when Casey crossed the bridge, like I said, I couldn't leave her. Even when we helped her across the bridge at the vet office, it was kind of morbidly funny, and that um I was sitting there with her and she was clearly gone, and so I was waiting for them to come and get her because I didn't want to leave her, but yet on the other side of the door they were waiting for me to be done saying goodbye to her. So it was like kind of a long time, and so but for a long time after that, I'd say a good month. It's a real thing. It's called there's actually a term for it, and it is slipping my mind right now, but it's basically an actual type of anxiety that people get, that
Anticipatory?
it
Oh,
that
that's
has
grief.
a lot of hospice workers get it.
Uh-huh.
And so for the longest time, I didn't know what was going on. And I'm not normally an anxiety kind of person. Normally, I've lost a lot of animals over the years. I keep them forever. We have horses that have lived into their 30s, and it's time to let them go. And it's just something that I know this happens. But with Casey, it was different because all everyone's the same. Like, we spend so much time operating off of whatever they need. Do they need a
Right.
drink of water? Oh, it's been 15 minutes. They must need this, or it's been this. It must need this. And so I actually had alarms set on my phone, and when she was gone, the alarms kept going off, and it was so hard
Oh.
for me. But it was mostly like um, suddenly all that stops.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden I got this terrified feeling every time I went to the fridge. Well, then I identified, oh, well, her food was in the fridge or her whatever. And so, but it been shocking to where your fingertips even hurt, like your whole heart, everything. It's like, and
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe or anything, and I didn't know what was going on. Now I know it's a typical type of anxiety that a lot of caregiver hospice workers get, and that's what we are. We're hospice worker. We
Hmm.
are hospice caregivers, and so like I couldn't get my brain straightened out for about a month. It took me a long time to like even be able to put things, like nothing made sense to me. I actually drove the wrong way on a one-way road for a moment there. I mean, thankfully it's not a crowded road, but I was like, what am I doing? All of a sudden, and your brain is confused, it's very
Hmm.
much confused. Now I know to tell people, go ahead and see your doctor about this. This is actual grief. This is
Yes.
actual a thing. And I didn't know at the time for myself, but now I know. I've seen a lot of people that also suffer from these things, and it's okay to get help. It's okay to, like you said, and while you're taking the journey, gosh, we're so exhausted. Casey didn't
Hmm.
let me sleep for more than 4 hours at a time. And I, even when she was sleeping, I didn't allow myself to sleep because I knew it was been 4 hours. She's going to need me in a minute. And so you go on this crazy, like for her, it was the whole last year, 4 hours of sleep every night.
Hmm.
It was like, and I don't have children, but I understand, like, new moms get that, and your body adjusts. Well, my
Right.
body never unadjusted from it. So I still only do 4 hours sleep.
Oh.
But it's kind of something that it's important to recognize. And you're absolutely right. If somebody says, hey, can I run to the store and pick something up for you, let them say yes. That would be
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
uh,
Or
don't.
I'll sit with Casey for an hour. Why don't you just run to the store if to
Right.
give you a break? So it is
Right.
100% important to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself,
You're no good
then
to
yeah,
them.
you're no
Yeah.
good to them. And it is true what they say about caregivers,
Hmm.
how, and I've heard this numerous times in humans, where one spouse is sick with cancer or some sort of terminal illness, and the caregiver's not taking care of themselves, and then they end up with something terminal too, because they just didn't have time to recognize the signs or
Yeah.
go to the doctor. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it's very, very important to take care of yourself, because you are in fact a caregiver with
Right.
I mean, I'm talking a caregiver with a dog with degenerative myelopathy. And
Yeah.
also, just to take this a step further, I feel like it's important to know when it's time to say goodbye as well, which becomes very, very muddled when you're with this dog 24/7, like you're saying. Sometimes it's hard to pull yourself back and say, we've gone as far as we can go. This is it. And somebody might have to say something to you like, you know what? I don't mean to upset you here, but have you really looked at what's going on here? Because sometimes that gets a little cloudy.
Yeah. So that is very, very good point to talk about. Um, we've shared on the Shade.dm group, there's a thing called Scouts House, that it has a like an evaluation that you can do yourself. Um, Bobby Meyer wrote a book called Corgis on Wheels that was kind of like a Bible for me when I was taking the journey. She included that in that book, and Bobby's been amazing. There's just so many people have really contributed to getting the information to everyone. And I don't want to leave anybody out. So, but bottom line, Scouts House has a evaluation that you can do, and it's just very simple. Like if some questions it asks, and then you kind of score it yourself, and oh yeah, I guess we are there, or oh no, no, we're not there yet. It's good to
Hmm.
keep checking that every once in a while. And again, coming from a horse trainer background, it's important to evaluate how things are going for the animals, and that kind of thing. You always want to make sure. But if you take it to, or allow it to go to the further stage, like when
Yeah,
you were trying to talk about stages, I'm sorry, we keep segueing, but
that's okay.
the furthest stage, um Casey did choke a couple of times. That's a scary thing. I had to sit with her and monitor every time she ate in my lap, and she did choke on her food, and so I had to actually do the finger sweep and pull the food out of her throat, kind of thing. And it's because those muscles are becoming paralyzed. That's
Right.
really too that's very scary. And I didn't like, that's when it kind of became more real to me, like, oh my gosh. But it was very hard to make the decision because everybody said, oh, they'll tell you, which they
Yeah.
do. But um, also, every single morning, I prayed that she would just go in her sleep. And
Hmm.
every single morning, her big brown eyes, morning, mama, just like, oh, I'm glad, I'm grateful that you're still here, but why can't you just do this on your own so I don't, And honestly, uh, for Casey, it was too close. It was very too close. And I openly tell people that because every single day she was great. I mean, we did have a couple days that were down, and I would call up our vet, who was amazing. And well, he's like at least an hour and a half with no traffic to get to him, but he was so good about always fitting us in. And so I'd say something's going on, and he'd say, come on down. And so we'd go down, and he'd say, yeah, I see, I think it's just a UTI. And sure enough, it was. And so it was a relief. And so um Thursday, she had the best day she's had in a long time. She swam the best. I actually let her in her cart to run around the dog park, not run around on her own. Of course, at that point, her front end was not able to pull anymore. And so I
Yeah.
would pull her, but let her sniff around and stuff. And I never let her do that before because Casey was immunocompromised because poor Casey had had so much things happen in her life. When she was 2, she contracted canine hepatitis, even though she was vaccinated against it. It was
Oh.
just a different strain, and so that was. I mean, like, and so anyway, long story short, I just never took her to dog parks or let her be around a lot of other dogs like that because she was immunocompromised. So it was just something that we want to make sure that we never let her. So I must have known that Thursday her time was like coming because I let her actually go and sniff around at the dog, and anyway, so she swam her best swim and everything. And then by Friday, I woke up and I could tell her breathing was changing.
Hmm.
And I had promised her we would only take this journey as long as she wanted to do it. It was not something that I was going to make her do it for myself. But if she didn't want to fight anymore, we would call it. And but it was just so difficult because every morning she would wake up with those bright eyes, mom, morning, and barking and talking and chatting and and play, wanting to play and stimulated with her words, like you'd say Bolly your food, or she liked cucumbers, so I'd say a cucumber, and oh yeah, 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 I want all those things. And so it was just something that it was just so hard. And but I promised her, that's the thing about this disease, is being realistic. The way the disease works scientifically is to go, and it basically attacks the um, lungs and the ability to breathe, right? And
Right.
so
Respiratory
um,
system fails.
for her on Friday, I noticed her breathing was changing, and I took her into the vet, and he said, I see what you're saying. He is, but I don't, today's not the day, but it is coming. And I should have done it then. And I didn't, because I wanted to believe him, and he told me that. And I mean, him and I are very good friends now. And he has told me, like, I'm just so sorry that I really should have just told you we should have done it then, but I didn't. Everyone had said that DM progresses slowly, and it does till then. Then it can change in 24 hours. It can change
Yeah.
quickly.
Right.
And so by long story short, Saturday morning, she was telling me she was done. And that's the only thing I regret, is I should have made the decision and not had her have to tell me she was done. And so, and it went fine. I mean, she went so peacefully, and such a blessing. And she was we have this saying in the Corgi world where they Corgi on, Corgi strong kind of thing. And she was so determined that it made it that much more difficult to make that call, because every day she was great.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, don't mean to go on about that, but yeah, I absolutely agree with you that it don't push it that close. That
Well,
that was
yeah,
just too close. And it terrified me to think that she might have to face um struggling to breathe. And that was something I promised would never happen. And she didn't struggle to breathe, but it was way
it
too
was
close.
coming.
Way too close.
I waited too long with Woody.
Mm.
Again, I didn't know. I was just so green back then, and I didn't know, and I waited too long, and he actually went into respiratory failure.
Oh,
So, yeah,
that's hard.
it's a regret I live with till this day,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
I will never ever I truly believe in it's better to do it a day too soon than a day too late, even
Absolutely.
though it's gonna tear my heart out.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're very cognitive.
Yep.
They're completely cognitive. They're very aware of the what's happening around them because of course their brain's not affected from the
Right.
disease. But
Right.
so that is just such a tough,
Mm.
tough call to make. But I will never, ever, like you said, allow another Woody's Place resident to go that long. I know much, much better now. But it doesn't take away from letting him go too long.
Right.
The internet was just not the same back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there was stuff about Dr. Clemens from
Hmm.
Florida who had
Hmm.
reached out, but there wasn't really information on YouTube. There wasn't really support groups. I mean, we
Right.
didn't even really have Facebook groups then. It was like Yahoo groups.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
that's what we had. And
Yeah.
and I don't know, there just really wasn't a whole lot of information about it. And again, I'm out here in a rural area. It's not like I could just go knock on my neighbor's door and say, "Hey, do you know what this is?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. The vet we were seeing at the time, it's before the vet that I we use now. They just kept telling me it was something neurological.
Right.
They never once said degenerative myelopathy. They basically just kept taking all kinds of money from me. I put him through so much testing. It was so
That
sad.
yeah, that's just
Just
it
killed
is
me.
it. And I watch this over and over now. And that's why, I it's so difficult because when people reach out to us at Shade Out DM, we don't know the vet, we don't know the situation. We certainly don't ever want to undermine any sort of professional that would
Sure.
do that. Unfortunately, like a lot of things in the world, there's some great ones and then there's some not so good ones,
Yeah.
and it's difficult. So I just like to supply people with the questions they need to ask, or things, well, you should look into this or check into that, just give them more to work with, so to speak. And you're
Mhm.
right, there wasn't that much even back when I took it with this journey with Casey. But in the Corgi community, there were several soul team players that also took this journey and knew, and so like they knew a lot of Corgi people have a lot of the relative dogs, like, so
Mhm.
that's why the one lady that I spoke of earlier, Karen, so she took the journey 3 times, so she did this for 10 years straight, and
Wow.
all of her dogs were related. So um it just it's not a great journey, but trying to find the positive out of it is to have a community of support, have
Mhm.
people that can help you, have people that can be there when in the middle of the night and your dog is anxious and frantic and what can I do? Being able to pop on and say, hey, have you tried a rotating fan? Or, DM dogs can't regulate their own body temperature. So maybe he's hot, maybe he's cold, maybe, try this, try that, and
Right.
people just start throwing their suggestions out there, and usually something works. We just kind
Mhm.
of throw a whole bag of tools out there, try this, try that, and it usually works, and then everybody can go to sleep. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, too,
I remember.
you find out like maybe if your veterinarian's not working for you, you can look for suggestions or even a veterinary hospital. They could point you
Right.
to someone who's doing perhaps clinics, a trial clinic or whatever
Right.
on DM that
Yeah.
you could get more resources or testing. Now you said you had DNA testing done. Some people don't even know where to look for a DNA test or what is a
The
reputable DNA test or what it even does.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's where we're out. trying to do the shade out DM as far as educating the public, like giving them, hey, and it's so funny because we do we've done a lot of pet walks and that kind of thing that are all breeds. And so a lot of people have said like, oh, well, I know somebody, oh, well, maybe there was this, I've seen this one dog in a wheelchair in our neighborhood. I wonder if that's what he has, or, things like that. And so it's just so, the whole community helping animals just warms my heart, and that people can support each other and share the word. And then once they get to the website, they can pop on there and see, oh, I could go to Gensol or OFA and get the test, that kind of thing. And there's just so much to learn and so much to know and so much, it's mind boggling. And to do it and have a full-time job and kids and things
Right.
Also, it's just, there's so much more to juggle in life too, that it
Right.
adds more to your
Yeah,
plate.
life doesn't stop.
You get that overwhelmed feeling way too quickly, all of a sudden your whole world is changing. And then once they're gone, you have to learn how to relive without them again, and it is a tricky thing. And
It
I
is.
remember what I was going to say earlier about rescue is that we do this race every year, and I reached out to the rescues, a lot of rescues in the beginnings of this race, and it was some of them really were welcome and oh yeah, I totally want to do this. And I had other rescues say, oh gosh, no, we wouldn't want to mention that because it's difficult to place dogs in homes if they might end up getting this disease. It's
Right.
harder to find caregivers for them,
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to clear that up with a lot of people, in that those rescue dogs need help, need love too. They need love, really somebody that can be dedicated to them and still give them everything they need. And that's what's so wonderful about your organization is you don't pick and choose, like, so to speak, as far as like, oh, they have DM, I don't want to deal with that,
No.
that's a big project. Instead, you welcome them and give them love, and that's so special because it's so important that they get the love and the everything they need. And it is a big, huge undertaking to
It
take that
is.
on. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for
Well,
everything that you do.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But, as you know, once you have one, you start to learn how to
Yeah,
deal with it better in the future. And that doesn't mean that emotionally it's not going to be a struggle and you're not going to hurt when they say goodbye, but you're going to feel more confident knowing I have these tools now. I
absolutely.
know this is still going to hurt, but that dog has quality of life. And you know what? I can help that dog and I'm going to help that dog.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like you and I are similar in the sense that like you made that cart when your husband said no. I don't stop either. I'm very tenacious, and if someone tells me no, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with DM. Like my husband said to me, Mr. Woody's place at one time, he said, are you gonna cry like this when every single time when one of these dog passes? And I said, yeah, I'm gonna bawl like a baby, and then I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna rescue another. 'Cause
That's right.
because
That's
as
right.
long as they're out there and they need help and this horrible disease is out there, they need help. They need
Right.
people and they need people who understand and know what they're doing. And if somebody's willing to help a dog with degenerative myelopathy and they don't know what they're doing, they need to find organizations like yours that can give them the tools to help them help that dog.
Yeah, everybody on that group has been just so wonderful as far as, I mean, they've been through it, or they're taking the journey themselves, or they've taken the journey many times. I mean, like, there is so much knowledge on that group, and I can't take credit for any of it. It's all them. That everybody is amazing. We do have several vets on that group that will pop in if need be. But honestly, that amount of experience level that is in that group is just phenomenal. There's just, well, there's so many people that it's funny because my vet actually calls me now whenever he has somebody that comes in that needs a cart. And he goes, "Oh, well, here, just call Tawny. She'll do it." And I said, "What? You're crazy." And he goes, "No." He goes, "The best thing I can do as a professional is get them to somebody that has experience."
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, well, gosh, I mean, like I said, we're good friends, and I'm so glad that I have him, as someone to lean on. I don't at all think I know everything. There's far from that. I'm learning every day, and there's always something new that I look forward to learning. And
Yeah, me too.
continuing education is a very big deal, especially with this disease, because hopefully one day we'll get that phone call that says, "We've got it. We've figured it out."
Yes.
I mean, I would love to see that. I've been told by many people um, when I first started doing this, "Oh, Tawny, I don't know why you bother. There's just they're not going to figure this out in your lifetime." And they may not, but you know what? Though my answer is, we're I'm not going to go out without trying.
There
So
you
let's
go.
get it out there, share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Teach people, train people to help. Having all these vet students that went to that veterinary conference go back to their office with knowledge and being able to say, "Hey, I'm so sorry that your dog, it looks like your dog might have this, but here's a group you can join and get the information, and you can find where to get the tools that you're going to need, and things like that." And hopefully, we don't claim to raise funds for research and that kind of thing. We do contribute to research. We do,
Mhm.
donate for every race. We donate different researches, the projects that are going on, and that sort of thing. But absolutely, there's other groups that have those things going, and so we feel like our main focus is just raising awareness and getting the word out there, and that is my own personal approach to
Yeah. And
trying
giving people resources.
yeah, trying to get the people educated so that hopefully one day we won't have to make the decision of breeding these
Yeah.
genes, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Can't get here quick
it's my
enough.
hope. It's my
Yeah,
hope
it's
because
mine too. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. I want is there anything else you'd like to add?
oh gosh, well, you know me, I could keep on going, but we can always do this again if you have people that you feel that would like to talk again, or
Well, what I'd like to
anything.
do is, I'm actually going to add your information. So when this podcast actually comes out, it's also going to be a blog post too. I'm going to make sure that all of your pertinent information is attached, so that anyone listening or reading can actually come and check you out. But do you want to just say on the podcast here where people can find you online?
Oh, sure, sure. Thank you. So it's www.shadeoutdm.org. And it's shades like sunglasses.
Mhm.
And then we do have Facebook. I know how to work the Facebook. I do not know how to work the Instagram, but we do have that, and we do have people that are doing that.
Okay.
But we also have a Twitter. Can't say that I really know how to work that one either, but I try. But mostly, we don't have a lot going on aside from, I mean, the Facebook group. It's the member group that is the Facebook group.
Okay, so
So we have a
they
page and
actually
a
have to be a member.
yeah. So you would
Okay.
on Facebook, you would ask to join the Facebook member group, and
Okay.
that's where all the activity really is.
Okay.
As far as the Facebook page and we do have a lot of presence out there, but they're not real active. It's the member group is where everything is. So,
Okay. I'll
um,
make sure I put that information on, the podcast notes and the blog post, so that people can find you, at www.shadeoutdm.org, and on Instagram and on Facebook and that members group, because that sounds like that's the ticket, what people will really want to be a part
yeah,
part of
yeah, and
for
we'd
like
love to
real
have
time stuff.
Right. And we'd love to have them share their pups on there too and their journey. I mean, honestly, I, I was super excited when you asked us to do this because um, I'd like to get past the whole myth that it's just a corgi group because yes, the logo's corgi just because that's my girl and
Yeah,
that's how that came about. But she's just the spokescorg and really all dogs, all breeds. We have all different pins that and that's the point is just it's funny because we would do the corgi events and at the booth people would come up and say, oh, I'm just so glad I don't have to deal with that because I don't have a corgi. And well, come on out. What kind of dog do you have? And oh, I've got a boxer, a German Shepherd. I'm like, come on over here this time.
yeah,
We want to
we
share
need to
with you
talk.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and that is a good point that your group, your organization is not exclusive to corgis, although that is what you sound like you're passionate about. Still, DM, degenerative myelopathy, it doesn't discriminate, and
Right.
there are 99 other breeds out there that are subject to this disease as well. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good,
And
good.
believe it or not, like, I mean, so I had somebody reach out and say, like, I want to donate a cart. And I said, thank you so much. That's so sweet. And when I met up with her, she's a veterinarian and
Uh-huh.
she's had 4 Australian Shepherds with DM
Oh, wow.
herself. So, I mean, it just goes to show that whatever people out there are, there's a lot of people that like to dismiss DM and quit
Mhm.
talking about it and that kind of thing. And I just feel like, honestly, I'm not trying to be defiant. It's just there's a problem out there and we need to recognize that and we need
Right.
to go ahead and it's not just somebody that thinks they might have had this is a veterinarian herself has taken this journey 4 times with her Aussies. So come on, like
Right.
let's respect it. Let's acknowledge it's a problem and let's do something about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wish it was that easy to isolate those who have the dog with the gene and not to breed that dog, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. What would be great is if they'd be able to figure out how to cure it once a dog ends up with it. That would be fantastic. And a person, of course, with ALS. I
I
mean,
understand they're
that
getting
would be great.
closer. Yes,
Uh,
I understand they're
yeah,
getting closer.
that
So
would be phenomenal. It really would for everyone involved. So,
yeah, and it's important to go ahead and I mean if you have the heart for it, I mean that it's a rough ride, it's hard to
mhm.
ride the shit out
But
damn
it's
journey.
worth it. But
But
it's worth it.
it is. But where I was going with this is it's we don't have we're taking a lot by taking the DM journey, but if you can find it to the energy to follow like the ALS stuff as well, you'll see that they're getting very close in a lot of the um, treatments for ALS, which I can't say too much, but we're getting closer in the dog world of more experimental things that may be able to help reverse it or slow it down even more.
Mhm.
And so it's just really encouraging to me to know that by bringing it to the surface and keep putting it out there and basically by sharing with everyone that this disease it could affect you, making it more personal to people. It could be your dog. Then they start to become more involved and invested in and interested in it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so by doing that, the more people that we can share this with, then the chances of finding a cure and finding for ALS as well are greater. I feel
Mhm.
like the ALS community has kind of been out there for a long time. And if you recall, that's something that we did is that, do you remember the ice bucket challenge, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
everybody knew the ice bucket challenge, but these to this day, I can mention that to somebody and they'll say, oh yeah, I remember that ice bucket challenge. It was cold. And I said, do you remember what it was for? And they said, no.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that people do know what it was for. It was for ALS. That's
Mhm.
the same thing that dogs get. And then they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So being out there and seeing it and talking with people, it's really interesting to see everybody's different perceptions. But I'm so excited that there is a lot more chatter about it, and that you
Mhm.
guys um, are sharing about it. And it's just I'm just so glad to get with you about this and see the differences that you're making in all the dogs. I mean,
Same with
everybody makes a
you.
difference, right?
I have to tell you, we did last season for the Life with All Dogs podcast, we did the 20 most common health issues in senior German Shepherds. And the one health issue that we got the most response to was degenerative myelopathy. And we have a small DM group on the Woody's Place Facebook page. And, people come there for information or to share their stories or just to cry because their dog
Yep.
just passed the rainbow bridge and they need support and they get it. But I thought to myself, we had something else planned for season 4. And I thought to myself, you know what? We really need to take a deep dive into degenerative myelopathy and get more questions answered and have people come on as guests and broaden the whole thing as opposed to just that one podcast and blog post that we did, because there's a lot of people out there regardless of the breed that are affected by this disease and want to
Absolutely.
know more about it and what they can do. So this has been great. It really has. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Me
And
too. Thank
yeah, I'd
you.
love to
Yeah.
have you on again at some point if you'd be interested. This was
Oh,
fantastic.
absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe we can do something about the race or something, because that's
Yeah.
it. That's exciting. We like to have, basically with that, we're having people do a team. And so we
Mhm.
have different kinds of teams. And this will be the first year that we're actually a actual 501c3 nonprofit
Oh,
now. So that'll be
congratulations.
exciting.
When
Yeah,
is
yeah.
when
We
is the
got it
race?
last year, but not in time for the race.
Oh,
But
okay.
this will be the first real race that will be under the 501c3. So up until then, we've been funding it ourselves. So
Okay, well, good.
it'll be nice.
Congratulations. Yes,
Yeah,
we will.
yeah. But
Yeah.
the main point about that is just to spread the word across the world. And it's so funny that you say that, because there is somebody over in Europe right now that was just asking me, do you guys have somewhere that keeps track of all the dogs that are dying from this disease? And I said, no, because right now, to prove it, you have to do the necropsy. And a lot of people don't
Right.
have the funds or the heart to be able to do
Mhm.
those things. And a lot of the vets don't always have all the right equipment and tools to do the procedure,
Mhm.
right away either. So it's there's a lot that goes into it, but I feel like um, we just the best we can do right now is have people share their stories on J.DM. Have people share every breed of dog, every kind of dog, every experience. Just put it out there, and that's what the race is for. Is people, even if you don't have a dog with DM, but you support them, you can either start your own support team, or you can go ahead and join a team of a pup that is taking a journey. And boy, what that does for a DM mom's heart or DM dad's heart, to
Yeah.
know that there's people, strangers you don't even know, that are supporting you and behind you is just such a phenomenal feeling. So
Mhm. When
thank
is
you
the
so much.
race? When is the
Yeah,
race?
yeah. And we do that with them with rescues too. So I really hope that maybe you guys will do a team.
I would love to. When's the
That'd be
race?
awesome.
Is it
Yeah.
is it soon?
Oh, sorry. October. We're actually gonna. Last year was the first year we made it a week long. It was a recommendation of actual. Um, we do it through a run sign up platform, an actual marathon like type platform, and so they actually advised us. They're studying all the statistics all the time with the COVID and how that's affected everything. And so
Yeah.
then they we actually were going with them before all that, but thankfully they've stepped up with COVID to really find a way to have people track their runs and monitor their time, and it's all
Mhm.
real legit. Like, I mean, real marathon runners.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, they through them in their studying and figuring, they established that, well, while this is all virtual, if you're just trying to raise awareness, you should extend it out for a week long rather than just one day. And so last year we did that, and it was like just every day post a picture of something, and everybody post. And boy, it really did make a difference. So
Oh, we're gonna
yeah, it
do
was
that.
really cool. We had like 16 countries, and like I mean, people all over the world. That we Taiwan, and it's just a lot of people in Australia, a lot of people in Europe, different countries in Europe. I mean, it's just really cool because they were posting around the clock. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
wake up and there'd be all more from everywhere. It was really, really cool. Really
Well,
cool.
you're gonna get some from the Pocono Mountains because we're gonna do that too in October. So you'll have to send me the details because I
Awesome.
would definitely
Awesome.
love to participate in that. Yes, and raise awareness and support your organization as well.
Super cool. Well, they can always check out the website because like all the old pictures and stuff are on the website and that sort of thing. But as far
Okay.
as this, if you want to have current discussions about your pup or share your baby or anything like that, that would be the Facebook members group.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
so
Sounds
much.
good. Well, thank you. It was great talking with you.
You
Thank you for
too.
everything. Love what you do.
Give those babies big kisses for us.
I will. Thanks.
Thank
You have a
you.
good day.
You too.
Bye bye.